I wanted to encourage more women who felt like me and had a bigger purpose, knew they were meant for more, to step into that. And when I focused on that problem, it all of a sudden made the potential of criticism seem like a pretty small, pretty insignificant problem. In today's episode, I'm going to dive into a question that came from one of you, from our community, and it really has to do with how do you get yourself to take action in spite of fear? If this is something that you are struggling with, if you have a really, really big vision and you're right now in the middle of facing fear, whatever that fear is, number one, you need to know it's totally normal. But number two, I think it's important to realize that this is how you grow. Facing fear and really learning about yourself in the process is the way to evolve, to grow into the person that you know you're ultimately meant to be. And I'm going to take this question directly from one of you. This is actually from someone who I know and love. Bree Johnson sent in this question when I polled our community, just asking what you guys want to hear and what's going on in your life. Bree asked, what's a practice that helps you push past your edges when you're feeling that scared/excited feeling? And I love how she phrased this, because anyone else agree? It literally is an equal combination of scared, like actual fear, feeling sensations in your body of just feeling really afraid to step into something new, but it's also equal parts exciting. I equate it kind of to being on a roller coaster, like if you like roller coasters, when you're going over that edge and you know that like some very intense feelings are coming, but if you enjoy those intense feelings, you're actually looking forward to it, even though it can bring up different feelings in your body, feelings in your nervous system that are kind of setting off a little bit of a panic button. So I want to talk about this because learning how to lean into fear is essential if you're going to grow at the rate that you want to grow, if you're going to expand and step into these big visions that you have for yourself and for if you have a business or just for your purpose in life. And there's a couple of different things that have really helped me. And I think when I look back, fear has been a very consistent part of my journey. The discomfort that comes along with stepping into who you are meant to be is really intense. And sometimes, especially early on, I didn't realize that the feeling of discomfort was actually a sign that I was going in the right direction. I was starting to leave the comfort of the person, the identity that I had known for decades. And I was starting to become someone new. So even the way that she says, when you're pushing your edges, what helps you push past your edges? I feel like to me, those edges are the edge of my current identity, the edge of who I currently know myself to be, and it's the edge of my comfort zone. And when we go beyond that, we're stepping into the unknown. And the unknown, to our minds, to the survival part of our brains, the unknown feels really threatening. That's why, I don't know about you, but sometimes the fear, if I tune in to how it feels in my body, the fear actually feels like a threat to my survival. I get really short of breath. I feel like there's danger, even though there's definitely no immediate danger. But my body doesn't know the difference, because the same part of your brain that monitors your breathing, your heart rate, things that if you were to change would lead to your death. That same part of your brain that's making sure you stay alive is the same part that gets triggered when you go to leave the known, step into the unknown, and create new results. So number one thing that has helped me to really push past these edges is to learn about the brain, learn about how the mind works, learn about what fear actually is, so that the next time I'm stepping dangerously close to the edge of that next comfort zone, which I'm doing all the time. And that little panic button in my brain starts to go off like, I don't think this is a good idea. Let's just step back a little bit. Let's go back to where we're comfortable. I remember that the feeling of fear is an indication that I'm going somewhere new. And that's where I want to go. Nothing new happens within the known. Growth and evolution in your highest self, the version of you that you want to become, all of that lies in the unknown. And that feeling in your body of fear or anxiety or panic, whatever word you use to associate with it, when you're stepping into the unknown, that is a sign that you are going in the right direction. Learning that has been a game changer, so that in those moments when my body's reaction to growth feels really uncomfortable, I can, take a few deep breaths and remember, oh, this is what it feels like when I'm growing. And do I want to grow? Yes. Then keep going. And the second piece is, as I've had more experience with doing this, pushing past my edges, and if we all think about it, I bet we have had countless experiences in our lives dating back to childhood when we felt that fear, we pushed past the edge into the unknown, and something great happened. So I think a really powerful practice can also be to create a list of evidence that in times before, when you have felt that fear, when you've stepped past it, something really great happened. When you stepped into the unknown, there was a miracle or a blessing or something that you never imagined could even be possible. And I remember for me, the season when I have the most of these wins, when I really started to build confidence, was on the other side of publishing my first book, which that journey brought me to edge after edge after edge. And there were things that happened on the other side of just pushing through the fear, supporting myself through it, of course, but leaning into the unknown. There were so many blessings in the unknown that I didn't even know I could put on any vision board. I didn't even know I could dream that big. I mean, everything I'm doing today, this podcast, our annual event, every single opportunity that I've gotten has come on the other side of pushing past the edge of my fear in that season 7 years ago. So now I have such a big list of evidence for what happens on the other side of leaning into fear. It helps me to anchor in that feeling of safety in my nervous system, that it's going to be okay. It's going to turn out okay. Even if it doesn't turn out exactly how I wanted, I'm going to be okay. And I believe that whatever result happens is for my highest good. I have so much evidence that that's true. That doesn't feel like a stretch to believe. So starting to keep a list of the times when you've gone past your edge, you've stepped into the unknown, and it's worked out really well, maybe even surprisingly well, that can be a really powerful backup to also learning how the brain works and what's happening in your body in that moment when you feel the fear. It is there, it is present, and now you have a choice. Do you step in, lean into the discomfort, or do you retreat back to what I actually think is just as uncomfortable? But the discomfort of staying the same is familiar. The discomfort of leaning into the unknown is exactly that. It's unknown. But we can only see what we're giving up. We can't see what we're possibly stepping into and what blessings are waiting on the other side, which is where keeping that list of previous evidence for why you absolutely should listen to that feeling, lean into the fear, that is really, really powerful. The last thing that has served me tremendously in leaning into this fear when it arises, because it does for me every single day. If I'm playing a big enough game, the fear is only going to magnify. It's not like it goes away or it gets less the longer I've gone on this journey. Actually, it magnifies because there's more on the line now. And I'm risking bigger now. And the steps into the unknown are bigger. But when I remember everything I just talked about, And then I take this next step. This is ultimately what keeps me in action the fastest. And the last piece is when I'm in fear, I'm usually focused on too small of a problem that I'm trying to solve. So the fix is to focus on a bigger problem. Let me give you an example of this, okay? When I was in the book writing process, I had a lot of fear. I had a lot of evidence for why I was not a writer. I had this failed blog that I had barely published any content on for 3 years. I had a lot of evidence and really was pretty justified in the fact that I wasn't a writer. This probably wasn't going to go very well and I should probably quit. And I remember when I was in the fear, what I realized I was focusing on is I was focusing on myself. I was focusing on, well, how am I going to feel if people judge me? A lot of the fear was, what are other people going to say? What are they going to think? What if this fails? Are they going to think I'm full of myself because I wrote a book? All these made up stories of fear that were trying to keep me small. Now looking back, I realized what I was doing. I didn't realize it at the time, but I remember that I would look at how small and how limited that it was to focus on that problem. Like, okay, yes, someone might disagree. Someone might have criticism. But on the other hand, there could be even more people that this could serve, even more people that this could help. So the moment that I extended my view and expanded it to think of a bigger problem I wanted to solve, I wanted to encourage more women who felt like me and had a bigger purpose, knew they were meant for more, to step into that, to really discover that purpose, to discover the fulfillment that was waiting for them on the other side. And when I focused on that problem, it all of a sudden made the potential of criticism seem like a pretty small, pretty insignificant problem. Did I want people to criticize me? No. But when I thought about the fact that maybe, just maybe, by being willing to be misunderstood by a few people, get a little criticism, whatever that looked like, I could possibly impact hundreds, even thousands. And now to see years later that impact coming true, the thousands and the millions of people that has downloaded this podcast, that tune into our event on live stream from around the world that I've never even had a chance to meet in person. The people who've done our programs, Bree is a perfect example. The beautiful soul-centered woman who submitted this question is someone who I actually knew from college. And had I not kept showing up, she wouldn't have been inspired to come back into my world and plug into the Powerhouse Women community. And now she's doing such incredible work. So it's easy for me to sit here today and tell you because I'm further along, I'm further removed from that initial fear. But I really want you to look when you are in the midst of just a fear that's really, really blocking you. A fear that is trying to get you to play smaller, to stay in the known, to not risk disappointment or failure or criticism, whatever it is. I really want you to just be honest with yourself. What level of problem is that? And how can you focus on a bigger problem that you want to serve that makes that smaller problem, the fear, feel kind of irrelevant? And I find that when I focus on those three things, when I really root myself in collecting evidence for how capable I truly am, when I remember the wins from past times when I've stepped into the unknown, even though I was terrified, absolutely terrified, to be clear. It's not like I waited until I was confident and then I took the step. No, I was terrified. Still am a lot of times. But I take the step into the unknown anyway. And then I remind myself that I'm not here to focus on the smaller problems of, will people be jealous, or will it trigger someone? Will someone criticize me for being in my true authenticity? That is a small problem in relation to the bigger purpose that I know I have. And the moment that I expand my view and go back to focusing on the bigger problem that I'm really here to serve, it loosens the grip of the fear. So for Bree and for everyone listening who right now you are in it, You are expanding, you are growing at such a rapid pace that you are constantly pushing the edges of the person you know yourself to be. I am so honored to be on this journey with you and to know that I'm not alone. And I hope you remember that in the grand scheme of things, that is what growth looks like. It's what it feels like. And that's ultimately really, really what we're here to do. But that you never, ever have to go through the growth journey alone. I love you guys.